Okay, we're going to take this cylinder head in for an inspection to make sure that it's a reusable core. We pulled off the rocker arms, and we're going to go ahead and take this down to the car wash and clean this up, because that's always nice to get a little bit more of the grease and dirt off before you take it into the machine shop, if you can do that. Anyway, I wanted to show you also this gasket. This is the one that comes between the head and the intake and exhaust manifold, and it's a little bit easier to see some of the exhaust leaks, that darkened area, especially around here. It's pretty much leaking all over the place, and there, kind of see that. So I haven't seen any fatal flaws. I haven't seen any major issues besides what we already pointed out. And so I'm confident that I'm cautiously optimistic that we will be able to reuse this cylinder head at some time in the future, but we want to make sure. And the other thing I wanted to show you was this poster. Now, this is a poster that was at Target some years ago, and I don't know how Frank came by it, but this used to be in the parking lot of the Targets, and it features obviously a first-gen van. Since there's no emblem up front, we don't know if it's a GMC or a Chevy, but the thing that always intrigued me about this was how many people they could fit in the front of this. I mean, I get it that you got a passenger and a driver and maybe a couple of kids on the doghouse, but what about her? She looks like she's pretty darn close. Almost like you got a bench seat up front. And so that's an issue. You know, I do like that it's got a nice clean front end, but I don't understand what year model it is, because there's no grill. The 66s had the widest grill, 65s were a little smaller, 64s were the shortest yet, but I've never seen one without a grill. So you're supposed to have some way to get air into that area there in front of the radiator, otherwise there's going to be a problem. Maybe this kid is already overheating because it's just too hot. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was funny. I'm going to find a place to put this up on my shop here, and we'll go from there. So anyway, that's my Target. I wanted to show you a couple of other things while I had this all lit up. Some of the things that I like to do. Of course, one of them is to see if there's a ridge on the inside. This doesn't seem to be too bad. I didn't get any indication that the bottom end was bad, just that the valves were weak and leaking. That was from the diagnosis I did some time ago with the compression tester and the vacuum gauge and the power balance. So this coolant level, I'm slowly lowering it with this wick. This is just paper towel. You can use a cloth or whatever, and you stick it in there, and slowly but surely it will drip, and I got a pan under there to collect all that, and that'll just lower this coolant level down a little bit more, so that's at a comfortable level. I don't like to have it right there at the top. Sometimes it can squish over onto the gasket when you're reassembling it, and it's just a little bit handier to have that coolant level down. The other thing I noticed was when I pulled this coil wire off, I pulled this off because the coil was bolted to the cylinder head, which is typical, but this has obviously been replaced. This wire goes directly to the starter, and there's no resistor wire, there's no ballast resistor, there's nothing there to reduce the voltage going to the coil. So that's not desirable. We're gonna have to redo that. The coil, this is a standard coil type system that they use. This is not an HEI. And so that needs a reduced voltage during the run condition. The typical operation is when you're cranking only, you should get full battery voltage to the coil. And then once it starts, it needs to have resisted voltage, because that coil cannot handle charging system voltage, which will be like 14.5 or so. And so that's what the resistor wire, or a ballast resistor like what they use on Chrysler products, is for. So we'll get that fixed up. Maybe we'll just try to talk him into getting an HEI in the darn thing and get rid of that whole coil point system. I don't know if he's got a electronic ignition in there, you know, one of those electronic pickups instead of the points. But anyway, the other thing that I notice is this water shutoff valve. This thing is pretty flaky. I'm gonna just go ahead and replace that, get another one of those. We did put a flow cooler water pump on there. That's gonna be fine. I'm thinking of pulling this radiator out for an inspection, because I'm seeing some indication of leaks. I don't expect this radiator to be bad. It's a 3-row, and from what I can tell, it's not that bad. Well, maybe it needs a rod out, but this is a 3-row, which is good. I think it's one more than the typical that you see. But since we're doing this and the hot summers are coming up, well, they're actually here, it'd be nice to make sure that that radiator is in good shape. So we'll end up pulling that out, take it down to the radiator shop, flow test, pressure test, and fresh paint job on it, I guess. So other than that, we'll poke around some more, probably clean this up, get some degreaser on that bell housing. I don't know how much we'll clean it up in here, but we'll at least prep it for getting that stuff off when we get it done. Take it down to the car wash and spray that off, make it look nice and pretty in here. So this is a nice van. It's not been jacked with a lot. He's done a good job keeping it up, and I really like it. So it's great to be able to help out Frank, and it's nice to be able to know how to do this stuff, to help show other people, and to hopefully help other people avoid any kind of mistakes, or hopefully help them to do it an easier way. All right, so we'll keep going on this and keep racking up the videos. Appreciate you guys watching. If you have any comments, let me know. If you have any corrections, let me know. Thanks.